again, a little introduction. Like, my name is Samuela, and I'm the Liberland Representative to Georgia, but I also travel a lot. I teach thousands of people around the globe so that they can share they can broaden the opportunities they have in life through acceptance of responsibility for their life. I call this project the freest. And besides that, I also travel a lot. I work remotely and I write a lot about it. I work in IT, but I have more like marketing mindset, event management, communication, media background, because I used to study media in the past. And then I started studying IT management, which I haven't finished because it didn't make sense to me. But I have, from the IT perspective, I have more cybersecurity background. So, and I am more like the multidisciplinary person. So I would say that I connect the dots. And today, thank you. Today I prepared a presentation that is related to Liberland, but I would love to, a bit zoom out from the topic. And I would love to talk about how is being the country created in the 21st century. First, why? Like, we have a lot of countries in the world, so do we actually need some new country? And I was thinking about it because some people would think that, we don't have anything to do, bored libertarians, so they come up with the idea of creating a new country. So this is a really nice concept, like rethinking the status quo. Because we treat governments like if we would be required, to first, there's this approach of like we belong to the government, where most people do not rethink this concept. So you're bored, you're some citizen. I say that citizenship is obsolete, passports are obsolete, and that the government, since you are little, so we are being taught a national hymn, we are being taught the language and its standards, and we are being told that we belong to this motherland, right? And we're being taught the mother tongue. This is maybe very well described in a very good book, Sovereign Individual, if you've read it. And but what if does by all these things, it makes you feel you are like responsible for other people who were born on the same territory, but the only thing that you actually have in common with them is the same passport issuer. That's most likely it. And imagine like treating governments as if they were on the market, which is actually an interesting approach, and it's broadly used by many people in crypto, many people who are just working remotely and travel the world. And it means like, go where you are treated the best. Go get another passport, go get another residency, open the bank account in another country, diversify your bank accounts so that you couldn't be oppressed by one country, because this is what exactly like the nation states try to do. They try to attach you to the country so that you can leave that easier. I will talk more about it shortly. Could you please move to the other side here? Okay, so I would like to introduce the two current trends. One is that the countries try to understand that people actually, can pack and leave, despite some countries do not make it that easy anymore, and it's getting sadly a bit worse. But still, some countries are trying to be more competitive with me, which means that they may introduce some interesting new tax statuses for newcomers or even for locals not to leave the country. But sadly, the trend is also on the other side of this sort of balance, and it's that countries are trying to be more oppressive. And we'll introduce it more in detail with some examples shortly. Would you please move to another slide? So first, because I'm optimistic, so I'd love to start with these competing nations. And I know that I've sadly heard from many Georgians, I think that every country has its own bugs and its own problems, it's pretty normal, and we love to complain about the politics and the current state and so on. But really, Georgia, and it's not just my personal perspective, it's like I talk to many people from all around the world who travel a lot, dozens or hundreds of countries, and Georgia is really one of the best, or it has one of the best conditions for people to move in. Why? So visa policy, a great example, is the most benevolent visa policy in the world. Like, if you're a foreigner, you can come, stay for 365 days, then just cross the borders and come back. And you don't need any visa for it. And this is applicable for around 100 nations, which is very good. Or otherwise, you can request the visa. And all this without actually needing the policy. What is happening, and it's totally normal for like most of the countries in the world, is that after 183 days in Georgia, when you are physically present in the calendar year on the territory, so you're becoming the tax resident of the country, which means that you have to start paying taxes here. But what does it mean? And it's like, of course, I highly recommend to discuss this with a tax advisor. It depends on your use case. But in Georgia, for freelancers, like if you want to start a business, let's say, so you can just register at Public Service Hall, which takes a few minutes. Then you go to the revenue service, to the local financial institution. You register over there. You can already do it online here today, as of last year. It changed and it's like fully remote. And you can start your business and pay 0% tax until a certain amount of money, which when I was counting it, it's something like average monthly salary times 12 months a year. So good. Like, this is very good. You don't have this. Like mostly in some countries you have it's called like unexpected income. It's like in European countries mostly, and you have like something until $200 a year if you get something for doing something for someone. Let's say you did some service for them, but it's not your regular income, so you don't have to pay anything for it. It's like $200. It's like bread, in Europe. This is a regular taxation status. So if you're growing your apples and you go to the city to sell them, you just want to make a little bit of cash, you don't pay taxes for this. That's wow. If you're already freelancing, making a little bit more, then you move to the small business status. And if, of course, you have to meet certain conditions, it cannot be consulting, it cannot be stuffing and some other things. You cannot, let's say, create things for reselling, for export. For this, you can use actually some other beneficial conditions. But for most things like IT, marketing, and so on. So again, consult this with the tax advisor if that's your case. But you can use 1% tax until 500,000 lari. That's a lot of money, and per year. And if you exceed, then you pay 2% for the exceeding. Yeah, it's like, and if you exceed for 2 years in a row, so then the status would be revoked and another status would be more beneficial for you. Another thing, health insurance here is not compulsory. What is it? Oh my God, healthcare in Georgia, it's very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I know that. Honestly, I meet many people, many Georgians, and first they're like, "You're so naive about this country." And after 15 minutes of talking to me, they're like, "I love my country," because I bring it to a wider context. Because I travel. Because I try health institution around the world where I travel. It's like a fun actually, because you just go and try random dentists. It's so cool. I don't, not for some operation, but let's say you just want a normal clinic and check. So it's good to go somewhere. And Thailand has also very good healthcare. Turkey is good for some particular things, but I would call this healthcare hacking. My friend calls this global opportunism. So you do not search for the best doctor in the village, but you search for the best healthcare in the globe on your particular case. And just to give you an example and comparison with Europe, I don't want to sound too anti-European today, but that's how it is. Like Europe is very overregulated and it has a very socialistic healthcare. What does it mean? So in my country, for example, the minimum you have to pay per month for health insurance is $500, around $500. That's the minimum. Huh? Per month, yes. And that's the minimum you have to pay. But the healthcare is so overregulated because you can choose just from some of the state healthcare insurance companies, which are, of course, highly regulated. And the effect of this is that these healthcare insurance companies are setting a limit of the patients they will pay. So my friends are texting me that their son, or their kids have problem with really serious things, and they call and they want to order themselves to the check.
But you can buy more high packages.
No,
Insurance.
here. Yeah, here. I say Georgia is good. I'm talking now about the European case.
Okay.
You are in Georgia. In the Czech Republic or Slovakia. You have a problem. You order just for the check because you don't know what's wrong with you. They tell you, yeah, okay, we have a free slot in 4 months. I'm not kidding. 4 months. Your kid is sick today. 4 months. Cheers. That's it. And you cannot do anything about it. What you can...
Not only in Czech Republic, many Western countries.
Yes. It's because the healthcare is just so socialist and so regulated. And this is what's the point actually? And how you can actually avoid this is that you call and you say, I will pay it in cash. So you're paying for health insurance, but if you want to actually, because the thing is that the doctor won't accept you because they won't get cash from you. Because the health insurance will tell them, no, it's the 21st patient today, we won't pay this for you. So there are set limits. Another thing, they have a shortage of medicaments. They don't have antibiotics now. They don't have anything. I'm like, where are you living? So I'm seriously thinking about actually offering healthcare travels for European customers, for European people, just to travel to Georgia, get a medical check, because here I can just walk in. To me, in Georgia, since I live here, healthcare is a question of I walk in and I say, hey, I was thinking, I'm a bit tired lately. Could you make me a medical check? The lady spends with me 3 hours, asks me for, how much was it? 70 lari. I pay in cash. I have a global health insurance. I pay for about $40. And it works everywhere in the world, but it's if something would happen to me, if I had an accident or so on, but for all these, it's called inpatient care. So when I walk in and I want to get a medical check, so I pay this in cash, and it's actually much cheaper when I count all this than if I would be paying this in those socialistic Western countries. So this is very interesting. And the thing is, what's happening here, because most people, either they don't have healthcare insurance, or they pay just some very cheap ones, or their employer is paying some low package here. So here you can just to provide a context. So here you can pay the package, and depending on this, the healthcare company pays certain percentage of the procedure until certain value, depending on what you are actually being treated with. And this is really interesting. So even when you are when you have a healthcare insurance, you go somewhere to the doctor, you still pay, let's say, 20% of it in cash extra. And this is good because you're actually aware of the price, you have the skin in the game, and you know that it's more like a trade, It's like, oh, do I really need this procedure? No. And in Europe, they will send you for something that is being paid by the healthcare insurance, because otherwise they won't get paid for it. So despite maybe you don't need it, but it's being paid. So this is really crazy, and this is working very well in Georgia. It's a very good system because you know how much it costs, and this improves the service. I literally try random clinics here for stuff. I don't need, doctors, honestly, but I just, I like to know that I'm fine. So every few months, I'm just going for something, just regular checks.
And by the way, I want to add about taxation. Georgia, we have
so that I wouldn't be taxed in both the Czech Republic and Georgia. So there's this agreement. But like if you do not have this, so then it's like depending on where you are staying. So the double taxation agreement, what it does is like more clarification where is really your tax residency based on like it's mostly based on where you spend most of the time of the year, where's your home, where you have things and so on. Yeah. All right. So again, like Georgia to me is really very one of those competing nations. Low bureaucratic approach. I'm submitting my tax report in 1 minute. In the Czech Republic, I was submitting I'm a freelancer. I don't have anything complicated. I was incapable of just understanding the form. It's in my language. Here it's in English, you know. In my language, I'm incapable of understanding it, and I don't get it. Why it has 8 pages? Why? And here in Georgia, which you submit, how much I made in this month, in the last month, how much I made this calendar year, including this past month. It's
real estate. If you have real estate, you must check.
Yeah, I don't know.
After 1 year, when you bought, you will must check it after 1 year, and after 1 year you will pay 1% of the middle cost of this real estate. And the cost you will write. I think my home costs like this, and I will pay 1%.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Well, that's you know, forget this in Europe, like it is crazy. But of course, I was discussing this with my friend in the Czech Republic, and I was saying, why in Georgia? It's just so simple, so brief, you know. Everyone, if you have still questions, you just go or call or have a video call with revenue service. It's crazy, you know.
Yes.
And
3 languages.
yes, and exactly. I was so shocked about that, and I was saying in the Czech Republic, I'm like, oh my god, why it's not here? Like it should be progressive, you know. And he's saying a beautiful thing, and I was, but what would all those accountants eat? And this is exactly the thing. So what's happening is that big corporations, which have a lot of accountants and are offering their accounting services to a lot of companies and are having a great business on it, what they are doing is that they are advising to all these implementations because it's so favorable to big companies to have all these regulations and to have it complicated, to have it bureaucratic. Because more bureaucracy means, of course, more useless work, but at the same time, it means, you know, work. So everyone is just so dependent on the system so that they won't let you just, you know, make it, well, bureaucratic. But I think that the Georgian previous motivation was actually just to get rid of this post-Soviet tech so badly, so that like let's just cut all the legislation and let's just build it from scratch. It's just very good. And yeah, like I was thinking about this slide because it's supposed to be about competing nations, and I didn't really come up with anything much. When I wrote there that Portugal was like one of the options that might be actually interesting. So a few years ago they announced some golden visa. It was most like focused for non-European citizens, so that if you bought a real estate there, you could get a citizenship pretty easily, and also a residency, and you could travel. So this was very attractive to some Chinese people, to some Americans. I was reading a lot about it. And then with the COVID period, this is actually interesting. So what happened is that more people started working remotely. More people realize that this laptop can be brought to another country. People can improve their conditions, lower their taxation, and live better. Well, that's a good deal, right? So Portugal is one of the countries that announced digital nomad visa. And in the same year, they announced also that they will start taxing your pension at 10%. So if you're retired, if you want to move to Portugal and live over there, they will tax your retirement at 10%. They actually, Portugal has a progressive tax up to 50%, which is totally crazy. But for these new citizens, they announced a 10-year program at like very low taxation and stuff. So what happened, of course, you're European, you can live and work from Europe, even like if you have a corporate job, so you can like adjust this. So many people just moved all their families to Portugal, and either they don't know it yet, but when they discussed something, like when they talked to some tax advisor, they understood pretty quickly that it's more like a governmental scam. Like I would summarize it briefly, something like, oh, we forgot that we're in the European Union, we cannot have such low taxes. Ridiculous, really. And I have a question, like, do you know about any other country that would be, or at least try to be, you know, competitive?
Estonia, I think.
Especially in United Kingdom, Texas.
The whole Europe is just beautiful. Estonia, actually, they have they have like a special business taxation model, but Georgia has the same. It's called Estonian business or Estonian taxation model. So Georgia has this too since 2018 or 2017. And the point of it, just to provide some context to those who do not know this, it means that normally you would pay the tax from the profit of the company. But when you have this Estonian model, you pay only tax at the point of withdrawal money from the company. Because what's happening, if you have a company, if you have a business, first you pay the income tax on the company level, on the profit, and then you pay the dividends. When you are paying out yourself as the founder, let's say, you own you own part of the company, so you have these, it's double, yes, it's double tax. That's crazy. How many taxes do you need, And this Estonian model is especially beneficial for startups, obviously, because when you have a startup, what you can do, you employ, either you have some people who are contractors, or you are employing people, and that means that you are reinvesting money in the company, so you do not pay tax on it. As long as you keep reinvesting in the company, on development, on paying out the people, and you do not withdraw the money from the company, so then you don't pay tax on it. That's very beneficial for the startups. And actually something similar, like lower taxation, is also in Holland, which is the reason why many, especially US companies, are based when they have a like European branch, so they have it over there, because it also is something like, not 10, because 10 is illegal in Europe, but like 15%, which is still like okay. But yeah, they might have a similar approach. So this is the benefit of like Estonia, but since another countries actually have it as well, so it's not any more beneficial. And another thing, like Georgia has good conditions when it comes to weather, cuisine, blah blah blah, and also the visa policy and so on. Like you don't have this in Estonia.
By the way, after this model we used, we had 7 points of taxes, and now we have 6. One point of this taxes minus 1.
If you check the list, I can find it after the presentation. So if you open the global list of countries for their taxation, so Georgia is 5th, I think, like 5th best one in the world when you average the taxation. Yeah. Okay. So some competing countries, please. No. Okay. Let's move to the next slide. All right. So another trend, because honestly, I'm optimistic. So I think that the more repressive the countries, the more regulative, the more alternatives are actually being created. This is one here actually too. But sadly, the current trend is also the oppression. So, more controlling and socialistic approach. I was already mentioning how does it work with the socialistic healthcare in European Union. But of course, this applies to everything. So, like even when you have a company, you do not have anymore this. I like this expression, like skin in the game. So like you just close the also there's some like the legislation is just crazy. It's like very lobbistic, so it depends on who really just comes and talk to people to what regulations they are supposed to do. And companies who are working for the government are usually big corporates who will, of course, like recommend something beneficial to them. When I was mentioning the 0% tax, like this coming to the market, I think this is very important and that's worth mentioning here. So in Europe, you know, like when you want to start a small business, let's say you want to start, you write a digital, let's say you write an ebook and you want to just sell it to people. Yeah, so you go to the governmental office. You need this approval to start actually doing a business. That's okay. Like that's even here. Then you go. You have to register yourself to social healthcare, to social care, social tax. Then also to the healthcare. You have to mandatorily pay it, despite you haven't made any money yet. So you already just paid $200. You didn't make any profit yet. But it's okay. It's more. Maybe it's 300. But at least this is in the Czech Republic. Of course, in some other Western countries, it's even more. And then you need to hire an accountant. As I was already explaining, I'm incapable of filling out a tax report in my language because it's just so complicated. They're like, I don't know, literally 100 fields. Why 100 fields? You need to know how much I made and how much I made per year, and then you automatically pay, count the tax, and that's it. Just confirm, and that's it. But I don't understand those 100 fields. So yeah, they have all these amazing things. So you need to hire an accountant, and in today's world, you also should actually hire some lawyer, because otherwise you won't be compliant, because you have things like amazing GDPR, you have cookies law. I think it partly missed Georgia, or I hope so, and you have some other things I will talk about shortly, but it's just so regulated. Like I spent on European legislation nights, a lot of nights, and it's tiring, it's exhausting, and you haven't sold anything yet. And of course, then you come up with all those taxations. So, you have an ebook, amazing. So how the word actually works for this. So you want to sell an ebook, but because it's called like a digital product, so it's being taxed at a place of the person who buys your ebook. So you should actually understand even the financial law in, let's say, Rwanda, Zimbabwe. Because you should be actually supposed to tax it in their tax office, but not just like after you sold it. No, the global tax legislation works the way so that you should actually register before selling it. So technically, you should actually register to all the financial institutions in the world before you make a purchase. Well, you already have a big team, right? Haven't sold any book yet. Of course, like how to do this, how to avoid it. So then you'll just end up like using some third-party providers like Amazon, which will take some 70% of your purchase, and they will deliver it. So this is the reality. Like when you want to make a small business, that's a bit crazy. So again, like compared to this, Georgia is a very good solution. Of course, it doesn't. You cannot obey this like global taxation, because it's just how it works. But yeah, like look into reality. 21st century, right? Yeah, another oppressive thing, it's called exit taxes. Many people don't even know that it exists. So how does it work, or what is it? In some countries, including Germany, Portugal actually, by the way, Netherlands has also something. And especially like if you're a US citizen, just to get rid of like paying taxes there or reporting in your country, it's almost impossible. It's doable, and some people do it, but it's very hard. So yeah, exit tax means that if you want to stop paying taxes in your country, you have to pay yourself out. Yeah. It's mostly on capital gains, so especially if you have a company, it's being treated like if you just sold the company and you would pay taxes from it. You keep the company, but you just move to a new country where you keep paying taxes. And about the US, if you're the US citizen, Um, so you have to, even if you do not live in the US anymore and you don't travel there, let's say, you move away, so you have to keep reporting, sending tax reports to your country, and let's say till the end of your life, how much you make. All the bank institutions around the world had to be compliant with FATCA, which is like a reporting system. So if you open the bank account even in Thailand, they have to send a report to the US so that you have the bank account there, and so that you couldn't, tax fraud, bad guys. And the only thing how to avoid it is to revoke your citizenship. And after 10 years, after revoking your citizenship, you stop sending reports to your beloved US. Actually, I was talking, when I was in Liberland this summer, so I was talking to one American girl who told me that it's better now that they just announced this exit tax also in the US, so you can actually pay yourself out to stop reporting earlier than in 10 years. Isn't it amazing? She was so happy. Crazy. And visa policies. Yeah. Actually, visa policies, I know that some Georgians be complaining that they do not have such strong passport as some European countries. Honestly, you have pretty good conditions, like still compared to many other people. Maybe just to bring some context, there are millions of people around the world who do not have a passport at all. They can't travel. There are many people, let's say, like, just choose some African passport. Like, Georgia has a very good and strong passport, honestly. And this is actually a good perspective, and I got from one American who's running under, I don't remember the last name, who's running nomadcapitalist.com. So he was I think it was an article about what price he actually pays so that he would have a strong passport. So, when you're an American citizen, you pay a lot of taxes so that you would have an embassy at every country in the world. Also, you support your government so that they would resolve conflicts of other countries around the world. But actually, Americans at the same time are hated in some countries because they were fighting against them, and vice versa. So many Americans be like, I'm not an American, depending on where you want to travel. And like most people, when it comes to visa policies and complaining about the strength of the passport, they're like, we don't have such strong passport. But honestly, come on, like, what's the matter? Because most people do not travel that much. Like, I spent on travels abroad from Georgia around half of the year from the year, which is pretty much a lot. But most people, go once a year to holidays. So, like, filling out a visa form, it's not such a pain, like, okay, it may cost you some $20-40, but like, when it comes to the holiday expenses, that's not that much. And of course, it's like add-on bureaucracy. But what I find rather more problematic is, all those information that are actually gathering from you. This is not so cool, and I think I will cover it later. So let's move on. Yeah. So current trends, surveillance. Oh, this is really crazy. Yeah. So of course, censorship. The funny thing is that with especially over the past 2 years, like, what happened is that people started requesting from their countries to actually implement censorship from their side, which is very weird, just to block this fake news content. But of course, what happened in the long run is that this content just moved to another platforms where you cannot really just even see it, so you do not know what is really happening. And of course, what's the thing is that the countries, the government, is strengthening their power. And one very particular case I want to address is the media law of Europe. And I don't know how much you get, like, how much you know about the European legislation. So first, what happens is that on the European level, you have some kind of regulation. They have to come up with it, they have to approve it, and so on. And then they send it to the nations, and every country has to implement it to certain concern. and they have like 2 years to implement it. So first it goes from the European side, but then the way it's implemented on the nation state level like varies. And so one of the amazing things that have been implemented lately has been this media law, which simply says so that it would be great to be aware of every media creator. Media creator are even you if you post something on your Facebook. And in Slovakia, if you want to create video content for, it can be educational, entertainment purposes, which is literally anything. It's your TikTok video. It's OnlyFans, by the way. So, which is very popular by some girls who don't like clothing, let's say. If you want to create this type of video, now in Slovakia, you have to register to a governmental company for around 200 euros. Of course, like you would say, that's crazy, because that means that the government now can make you, they can of course decline this registration, but they have to approve you to start creating videos for any, kind of purpose. And they said that it's to be, aware of what media creators we have. That's crazy. And of course, like from my cybersecurity perspective, what happens? The best way how to avoid data leakage is by not having any data. So, alright, you will send, let's say, you will get this approval from the government, and let's not like exaggerate it to the certain level so that they can stop providing you the license, and they can require, let's say, YouTube to stop allowing you to publish the content. That can happen, of course, because they have a monopoly for it. But another thing is, they will have a huge database of these data who creates content, and this includes, again, even like video creators like OnlyFans. Amazing. Like if the most vulnerable structures in IT are educational and governmental. So of course, like, it's a question of time, these databases will leak. Like, let's bring it back to, I'm not exaggerating at all, like the COVID amazing forums, like I was traveling a lot during COVID, one of the very few people maybe.
Which country?
I was in Europe, but it was so frustrating because, like, Asia was closed, but it was frustrating because the rules were changing every day. It's like crazy. Yes. And of course, when you wanted to enter the country, you had to fill out some form in advance, you had to print it out as well, and so on. You had to print out your vaccine and so on. And when I was asking my country if they could retrospectively, if they could remove all this data, they said that for health, health prevention, they have to keep my data about me arriving to the country for 12 months. Oh my god. And this is dangerous because, like, if someone would be, let's say, stalking you on some level, so just all this information, so that where are you going, where are you staying, your address, and all these things, because this is everything you submit over there, so they leak. And as I mentioned, I do not exaggerate about the data leakage. So my friend, he owns like one of the major cybersecurity companies in Slovakia, and what they did, because they're like hackers, like they are good hackers, but what they did, they don't like government much, is that they actually found vulnerability in the governmental system, and they found like all those COVID certificates of all the citizens who got vaccinated leaked in Slovakia. I hope that the GDPR applies to them. Of course, like, no one cares. But this is what's happening. And so, of course, let's get back to this media law. Well, I'm really sorry for all the girls who are, making money by some things. And it's really crazy. And it's not only this, of course, like, another thing is that this means the government has the monopoly to approve you to create video content. And of course to decline it, and again, because they're the government, so they can enforce particular social media to stop allowing you creating the content because you do not have the license, you do not have their approval, or they just decide so. And this is actually funny because years ago when this was announced in Russia, like in Russia, it works or worked the way so that if you had over 3,000 followers, you had to register yourself at local governmental office. And of course, everyone was like, "Oh my God, this is a totalitarian thing. It's like crazy." So that the government you have to report yourself like if you were media, and then you have to be compliant to the media law, which means now, let's say, when people are making content, and you submit a link to your Instagram, so you have to say, follow me on Instagram, it's anti-governmental foreign agent, like this is ridiculous. And of course, like you cannot use some particular words, it's so you have to edit this and so on. So, and like when it comes to Russia, you think, if you know how it works over there, it's very like not a free country. And the fact that this is being seriously implemented in European countries, this is so frightening. It's very frightening. And what's like to me fascinating is that many people don't know about this. They don't notice it because, of course, like you do not create, as long as you do not create video content, you might think whatever, you don't care. But yeah, like this is just slowly absorbing the whole population, sadly. Next one, please. Thank you. So that you wouldn't say that I'm so much, anti-European Union, but it's very regulated, sadly. But if you ever were in Dubai and wanted to call to someone, in Dubai you have forbidden all these calls via applications like WhatsApp, and it's just like on the level of the network infrastructure, you can just block this type of content. So you cannot really call someone on WhatsApp, on Messenger, and so on. You can avoid this with VPN, but that's why you cannot use VPN in Dubai. What you can do, like practically, is if you have a server, let's say in Britain, what I was doing, I was just connecting to a server of my friend, and via that I was already routing the traffic so that I could use these services. But tell me, how many people can do this? Like, it's not a normal thing. So yeah, and so you can, like people would avoid this by using VPN. So what Dubai does, like you cannot use most of the VPN services. What VPN does is that it redirects your traffic through another server, especially in this case, of course, via another country. And yeah, like this is not so cool, but like you can still work that through. And of course you have this encryption. Why do they want this? Well, because when you have a SIM card, so you register it on your name, it's connected to your passport. There are very few countries where you can get a SIM card without passport, or like when you can get anonymous SIM card. I think it's actually Czech Republic. And I think also in Portugal, I was buying a SIM card without any details. Today you can buy easily also the eSIM, and there are some ways how to completely anonymously pay, but it's still usually connected to your payment information, so it's not really anonymous, and IP address and so on. But there are certain ways how to buy global eSIM card totally anonymously, pay with cryptocurrencies, and just totally avoid this thing. So it's still possible today. Yeah.
In Serbia, you can buy with cash, like with prepaid cards.
Yeah. Yeah. But I was there now, and I'm wondering whether I was actually, the problem is not the cash, but it's like whether you actually submit your passport information. Yeah, I know. And there's no passport control.
No.
That's good. Yeah. I don't remember it. I was there now.
You can buy it in Georgia as well?
You have to submit your passport. It's connected to your passport.
I mean, here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I just bought it like 3 days ago without passport.
Where? I was buying both Beeline and Macti, and I had
If
to
you
submit.
go to their office, maybe they do, but also some shops also sell SIM cards like Station Square.
Okay. Well, I would. Yeah, but it has to be registered to some name. So I don't know. Like check the application. What is happening? Like let's say in Vietnam. Vietnam is a communist country. and you have like 2 providers of the mobile network, which are of course state providers, and you have to submit of course your passport and so on, and your visa and stuff. But and then the SIM card is working on the length of your visa, and you can also buy it at some non-official shops, but then they often fail to register it at the government to some name, and then the SIM card stops working after a few days. So I don't know how about this, but this is exactly this reselling. So it's happening in some countries. But of course the law has it regulated so that you couldn't actually buy it anonymously. And why? Because it's trackable. Yeah. And of course like you can just spoof it. Next one. Yeah. Surveillance. Oh, banking surveillance. Yeah. Okay, so there's this, as I mentioned, this FATCA system for the American citizens, so that all the banks around the globe would report to the US, so that American citizens open the bank account with them. So we have this amazing organization, which is actually non-profit. It's like it's called OECD, Organization for Economical Cooperation and Development, and it's giving recommendations to the countries which are being widely implemented. And one of the recommendations is like the special recommendation for development. So it's against money laundering. And so they announced this CRS, Common Reporting System, which is being implemented in Georgia in the next year, and it's implemented in other countries for years already. Armenia didn't sign it at all. Yeah, and there are not really many countries who didn't sign it, sadly. But the thing is that it means that the countries, the banks, are actually exchanging the information about you having the bank account there. This is how it's like being done right now. They have this so that they only are supposed to exchange the information. You have the bank account and how much you have there now. Like it should be once a year, but the thing is that banks want to be compliant, just not to make any problems, so they can send even more information, but they're not required to. And they should be sending this information to your tax residence country, but often they can, if they have also your passport information, so they will better just send it everywhere, just so that all the, of course this goes to the local financial institution, and they get all these reports. Of course, this is the case for also all the, if you have some exchange, like cryptocurrency exchange account, so they send these reports as well because they have to be compliant. And so they also announced this crypto asset reporting framework, which is not only for the statements, like how much you have on the account, but they will be sending exchanges. First, they had to limit how much you can withdraw per day, which is like 3,000 lari. So they're starting to limit how much money you can withdraw, which is not very cool, I think. And another thing is that they are sending the reports of all your transactions, everything you do, every coffee you bought, everything. And as I mentioned already a while ago, the more data you have, the more likely it will leak, and someone can like follow you. And the problem about crypto is that like this reporting of the cryptocurrencies, especially in case of people who bought crypto years ago when it was cheap and might have several bitcoins, if this information leaks with your address, someone waits for you home, and they will beat you up until you give them your keys. That's like it's very terrible, and this is very bad from the security perspective. But of course, we are safe against money laundering, right? Who is doing money laundering?
But anyway, it's not problem now to find your account, your wallet number, because all of centralized exchanges have information about you.
Yes, because it's KYC. But exactly what I was mentioning just right now, the problem is that not only let's say, because when you have the bank system, or like the regulation to meet the security for the banking system is very high, and the same comes for the exchanges. So I wouldn't be scared that much so that the information from the exchange would leak. But what I'm scared is that this exchange and this reporting to the financial governmental services,
Yes.
whose security be funny.
Now we are working in Georgia about this project. I have expectation in blockchain and cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
I'm a lecturer here of cryptocurrency.
Yes.
And now we're working on a project of CBDC and differently working on security of the monitoring of cryptocurrency transactions. And that's I think it's very easy to find some address when one transaction
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, sure. Well, it's, yeah.
but most of people think that anonymous or something.
Yeah, sure. Like, unless, like, you can go anonymous, it's doable, but it's very difficult, so.
If you have one transaction in your chain by centralized exchange,
Sure,
not really
it's
big
connected.
problem.
Exactly, it's connected to passport and so on, and so then you can just get to this information. Of course, like some countries do not have that sophisticated system in place yet, because honestly, most governments in the world just work on paper. Georgia is very digitalized and is working very well, but there's this other side of it. And let's talk about the CBDC. I really like the comment of like. I don't want to go that deep, but it's like digital currency of the nations, and
It will be anyway.
huh?
It will be happen anyway.
I know, but like just the thing is that I'm in one libertarian chat, and one guy was like, "Could you just summarize what is CBDC? What is the currency? What will be the impact?" And one guy had a very nice reply, which was like, "If 1984 was a heaven, CBDC is hell. It's like total monitoring, total surveillance system. And it means like it's not you make money, you have them on your bank account. If you have CBDC, well, you did something bad. In Canada, what is happening? Like people are close their bank accounts. CBDC, you don't have anything. You're totally depending on being compliant with the state. Otherwise, you don't have any more cash. That's really crazy. So what I think, again, like as I was mentioning, I'm at the same time optimistic about the fact, the more regulations you have, the more is the other side. So I think what will work, you will have a parallel society on, like for crypto people, we will just go to Monero stuff, you will go just totally anonymous, or normal people will just do no reporting, no, nothing, and just cash. It will just go to cash. Like this is what is happening in, let's say, Argentina. I haven't been there yet. My friend loves the country, but like over there, everyone is just they have such a high inflation. They're changing the prices on like a table every day, and people live every day.
Hour.
Yeah, and people are just living like in Turkey. You have the same thing. They don't print out the menus because like let's say I had 100 Turkish lira in 1 year when I was there. Now
5 times less.
it had no, it was 50% less. It was worth 50 Turkish lira. This is ridiculous. Yeah, and so Argentina is something similar but worse. And you have like official currency exchange and non-official like black market, and people really live like there's no tomorrow. And of course everyone is using cash there, but the government be like, oh, we want to regulate it, and so they announce some support for companies just to register and to have a bank account and to get their income there, but they don't want to, no one wants to do it, no one wants to be compliant, because otherwise they could easily close their bank account, they would lose their money and so on. They can regulate how much you can withdraw from the ATM and so on. It's really a serious thing, and yeah, or to my perspective, like I can see how much I have 2 exchanges under my flat, and there are queues all day, and so I see how much Georgians do not really trust their own currency, and they are just exchanging everything into dollar, This is not actually common in Europe. It's surprising because in my country they have the inflation of 20%. Yeah. Next slide. Please. Oh. Another surveillance thing. I spent like a few hours today on this. So this is totally crazy. I'm surprised that this haven't been. Why this is not in like everywhere in the news? It's like this is not some conspirational theory. Okay, I was like literally reading European legislation on this. So this is called like chat control law, but officially it's called laying down rules to prevent and combat child sexual abuse. So in order to, now we were talking about how to avoid money laundering. Now we will talk about how to avoid child abuse. So in 2020 they already announced this, like it's voluntary for social media and for chat providers and storage providers to analyze your content. It's voluntary, so no one really did it. And it's those accept privacy and terms, And but because as they write in the law, so child abuse is a serious problem, and they think that they have to prevent us from it. They want to save the globe. We're happy about, like as every good politician they have to save their citizens. So the best way to do that is by enforcing, no volunteering, but enforcing this legislation, which is literally a chat control. This includes, if you're a storage provider like Google Drive, this includes your mail communication, this includes your chat, even with your partner, with whoever. This includes open source softwares. If you're not compliant, you'll be blocked. You won't be allowed to be in Apple Store. So people won't be able to actually download the application if that's a chat that is not compliant with this. And this means that they have to constantly monitor all your messages, all your information, all your photos, all your videos, everything you send, and if it's fraud, if it's like possible that it may be child abuse, they will send it to the police. And of course, yes, they have to. They have to. And they cooperate with Europol.
In messengers, when you type the message, if you will not send, it will be backed up in out on the server. You cannot send it. But it stays here in your phone, for example, some maybe minutes. Maybe if you clear, it will be
on the servers. Yeah, sure. Like I understand. But that's the thing. Oh, they have to actually keep this for 12 months. They have to. So that there would be possible investigation. And another problem about this is that we have GDPR, right? So GDPR, I don't want to dive deeper into it, but I had several seminars on this because I was studying in the Czech Republic. So in Europe, you have GDPR is a huge topic, and it depends on what you cover, but it's a huge thing there. So the thing is that you have to give people the choice to, it has to be voluntary signature so that you comply with or you agree with using your data, and it should be only essential data. But because this is mandatory, and it's possible that there would be the investigation if in case you would be, you would share some harmful content. So they have to stop you. What happens that you cannot have, what will happen, you will have KYC based messengers. You want to register in a messenger, you will have to submit some of your data to prove that it's really you. Because in case of investigation, they have to prove it's you.
Yeah, soon Facebook will be like this.
Well, this is not Facebook. This includes Signal. This includes Telegram. This includes totally everything. Your messages. So let's say, you're sending nice photos to your girlfriend. Most likely, it will be automatically detected that it's possibly harmful and shared with the police. That's ridiculous. And this will take, this is now under, it's not in place, it's under revision, and it should be in place next year.
They say it's for your safety.
Yeah, sure. This is against, to prevent and combat child abuse. Yeah, sure. We just, they just fought money laundering, now they will fight child abuse. This is crazy. And by the way, the thing about GDPR and stuff, and European legislation and all, the thing is that it's so wide that it actually tries to imply the whole world to join it. So what is the possible, what will be the possible step? Either the chat providers will just totally avoid European citizens, but the problem is that, of course, what they do, so if the content might be from abroad, so then they will enforce it on the level of ISPs, of the internet service providers, and you couldn't check it. Then you need VPN just to access this content, and then they can block VPN as they do already in Dubai. Simple as that. This is terrible. It's really terrifying. Thank you. Let's go next. Visa conditions. Yeah, so as I already mentioned, so of course, most people do not really travel, but the thing about when I was moving to Georgia, so I arrived on digital nomad visa, and I had to submit my bank statements, my contract with the company, with another company I was working for, and all these.
Your income for last 3 years. Your income for last 3 years.
No, I think it was 1 year.
1 year.
Yeah, but still, because the country, I was moving in when the country was closed.
Wow.
So the only way how to get here was via digital nomad visa. So I applied for these. I had to stay in quarantine for 12 days, pay a lot of money for it, and so on. But yeah, I was submitting a lot of information, and I was already mentioning, we know how governmental services are actually secured. And to me, this is the first thing, so the provided information, so they actually scan you through. You have to show them exactly, in some countries it can be very, very oppressive, you have to show where are you staying, prove the address, return ticket, bank statements. If you want, let's say, visa, if you're, I used to work in relocation, and also I helped people to get business visas when they needed, let's say, when you officially go to some conference. Officially, you should not go via tourist visa, but you should request what is called business visa, and that's often this case. So, I was helping to non-European citizens who were residing in Prague and wanted to go to a business visa, to apply for a business visa, to go for 2 days conference where they had the invitation in the UK, in London. We didn't make it because you have 1 month waiting queue. They wanted literally to submit. First, I was going through the form for 1 hour. It was insane for our clients. They wanted to submit their real estate, their proof of contract, the statement from their employee, the statement from them, the statement from the inviting party, that they have everything covered, that they have a return ticket, so that the country would make sure they won't stay there and won't be working there. They went just to a conference. They had to submit the tickets and so on. The more proofs, the better. But literally, the clients were sending me that they bought the flats 2 years ago. And photos, the contract and everything. This was crazy. And yeah, this is literally in place. If you're not from a good country and you want this, it's very hard. It's very annoying. Just don't travel to these countries. By the way, UK is very oppressive from some privacy stuff as well. Yeah, that's crazy. Another, showing the power visa. So it's we allow you to enter our territory, which from the libertarian perspective you would say also. You just say that this is your territory. Mm-hmm. Freedom of movement. Just if you move, again, you have to meet the conditions so that they would allow you to enter the country. And in Schengen, so we should have this. Schengen is not a question of EU. Schengen, it's you should have this free movement when you are in the Schengen area. You shouldn't be required to show your passport. But what is actually happening if you want to go from Slovakia to Austria, there are police guys. It's just, you have to show your passport. So this is like, or from the Czech Republic to Germany at some borders. So I'm discussing it with people when I travel. And
What's the reason?
huh?
It's not always like this. This happens occasionally.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's in Schengen. It's not supposed to be like that. When I was traveling from Prague to France to Biarritz, which is in southwestern area, so we were arriving and we were showing our passports on the arrival.
They also took pictures of my passport on the Slovak-Czech border.
That's crazy.
And there was a reason they say.
They took photo of all.
There's no reason. You know, they can. That's the thing. They can.
Right, okay.
That, just because you allow them, they can. Yeah, the price you pay for being allowed to enter the country without visa. Oh, the US-AU operations is what I was mentioning. So that, like, when you have a strong passport, cool, but you actually pay for it a lot, and some countries can really hate you. Despite, you know, to me, citizenship is obsolete, and just the fact that you were born somewhere and you were given some citizenship, you were given the passport, it doesn't define you. You're not responsible for your government. Next one, please. Yeah, visa conditions. Digital nomad visa. Well, this is actually the funny thing. So, of course, like as I was mentioning, some countries try to be more competitive. So they announce this digital nomad visa, or you can have retirement visa as well. They want tons of information from you, of course. Some countries also, like Thailand, announces it's called elite visa. You pay a lot of money, some 50,000 lari, just to 50,000 lari, and then you can stay in the country for 5 years. You don't get anything in return. You can just stay in Thailand. God bless. And you still have to in Thailand. This is really crazy because Thailand, I was there and I'm going there back this Friday night. So it means a free country, free land. But when you're a foreigner there, forget it. You know, like you have long-term visa. Okay, good. You have to come to the immigration office every 90 days to announce, hi, I'm still here. And you have to submit tons of documents, spend 1 day in the immigration center, they take a photo of you, they're like, yes, you want to leave the country? You have to go to the immigration office, you have to announce it in advance that you're leaving the country for some time, for some purpose, where are you going, and when you'll be back. This is crazy, this is Thailand.
The reason why you must say the reason why you will go for the, yes?
Yeah, you want to go to another country, let's say you want to travel to Bali from Thailand, you cannot just make a random trip. And now people who have this 1-year visa, they also love to change visa conditions, of course they love money. Like they make a huge business on it, like governmental business literally, just based on this. So if you want to now travel away from the country and you have 1-year visa, you had to pay for it, of course. So it's a student's visa. So now you can leave the country only for 8 days. And then you have to come back. Otherwise, your visa will be revoked. You rent a flat there, not our problem, you know, we're the government. Yeah, but the thing is, this is the funny thing. As I was mentioning in the beginning, you know, like, the thing is, you can actually take your things and just move away. And this is the funny thing about how governments are thinking, actually. And the governments think, oh, you know, like we will announce these digital nomad visa, people will just stay here and then we will change it and they will just stay because it's difficult to move out. No, people like me, there are millions of, we don't care. I pack in 30 minutes and I move to the other side of the world and I don't lose my job. I can create home in days, I don't care. I will choose my favorite gym in days, you know, I will find a local supermarket. Actually, you know, this different approach to travels is just a way of living. So you can literally live the same way you live here, in Bangkok, in Hanoi, at Bali, in Prague. Just, you have different taxation. Yeah. Next one, please. Increase bureaucracy. Yeah. So nonsense European regulations. I want to laugh, you know. missed out or not, but in European Union they said you're literally paying someone from your taxes to tell you what cable you can charge your phone. They said that they will enforce all the electronic providers to have this USB-C cable only. You cannot have anything else, period. And so of course, like, it's not maybe best secure, but of course, like, some corporation enforced it, and so recommended it, and so European Union enforced it to not to save children abuse or to prevent children abuse this time. They will simplify your life. Thank you so much. I'm happy that I should pay someone to coming up with this. But tell me, why the market didn't come up with this? Because it's nonsense. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't bring any value. And my friend had a beautiful comment on this. And it is, this law was already in discussion since 2004. Imagine, you know what phones we had in 2004? These old Nokias. Imagine that it would be enforced back then, and we would be charging our phones with these old Nokia chargers.
But this law is it's also written there that when the new cable, which will be more like better will be developed, it might be changed, like to more than one. Like this, I just also know about this USB-C law. It's like whenever the new cable will be created, which will be like more useful and better, it might be like.
Okay. Yeah, but then it doesn't solve the problem, because if you enforce it and you still have an old device, you cannot buy a new cable because it's prohibited in the EU. That's ridiculous. And of course, this will increase the prices. It will reduce. Like, it's like monopoly. It's crazy. Why? But first, rethink it. The whole concept. Why is someone here being paid to tell you with what you should charge your phone? That's crazy. Cookies. Yeah, Jesus Christ. All my European LinkedIn discussed for weeks how should their this cookie thing look like, what should be included there, and how can the buttons look like, and it shouldn't actually enable you just to close this tab, but you should actually really approve all or select which you want to approve and so on. So annoying for you, of course, as a user, but the more likely it's annoying for the people who had to spend time on it. And getting back to entering the market, you just want to sell this one ebook you wrote for months, and you have to think about this, or you have to pay someone without, again, selling one single copy. You have to implement this to be compliant. That's so much headache. And I'm just, choosing a few regulations. GDPR I was already mentioning. It's like really crazy. And what surprised me, that first I was thinking, all right, so thousands of companies actually have been created to help other companies to be compliant with this law. So you're just fulfilling a total nonsense. You're making money on total nonsense that has been enforced for all the countries, but in fact for all around the world, because I'm the European citizen, and that means that officially, if we all would love to be legal, all the Georgian companies, if they want to provide me some service, they should be GDPR compliant, because I'm Czech citizen. That means I'm under European Union law. So this is how European Union is actually changing the narrative all around the world. Adding on approvals, bureaucracy. So yeah, like Paraguay is one of the countries where it was like very easy to get the residency, like pretty easy. Like, of course you had to submit your birth certificate, which you don't have to do here. You had to submit either you had to put $5,000 in the bank, or you had to submit and leave it over there for 6 months, or you had to submit your bachelor degree or master degree as you have it. You have to have it notarized, apostillized to be used in for international purposes, and so on, all those papers. But it was actually pretty good, because after that you could get a residency for 3 years. That's a good deal, actually. And just once in 3 years you should come and show up yourself. And what they did is that they changed the legislation now, and you have to come there every year, and you would get first this temporary residency, and but after 6 months you can apply for like long-term residency. Why am I mentioning this? So that this little change means another process, another bureaucracy, another fees for the government, another approval so that you can get some paper. That's, you know, like, it's, and this just adds on, and sadly all these, again, like these approvals, these allowances for you just to, you know, live, it's getting really crazy. And of course, the more bureaucracy, the more money for the government, the more you pay just to keep breathing. Of course, bureaucracy means corruption, especially in Latin America, but also in Thailand. I will share my own story. I love driving scooter, but I don't have a driving license. And in Thailand, if you do not have a driving license and the police stop you, so you have to pay them. It depends on to whom you talk to. You have to pay them some $20 to $40. Again, it depends on who stops you and how much you negotiate. And they give you a paper. So that it's like a confirmation that you paid it, and that you paid a fine for driving without a driving license, and it works for 3 days. So you literally paid yourself out for driving without driving license, and after 3 days, if they again stop you, you have to pay again. Does it make sense? You know, no. Does it save anyone because you drive without your driving license? By the way, I drive pretty well, but it's just too complicated to get a driving license, and I don't want to go to my country.
It's happened with me in Italy. It's happened with me in Italy 8 years ago. They take my driving permission, and they gave me some paper, and they say you will go on. I forgot the name of the Lugano.
But that's ridiculous, you know? It doesn't. What does it change? Nothing.
Valencia.
Ah, okay, yeah. So I paid myself out to be driving for 3 days. Like, what's the effect? None. I just paid them. And of course, like before now they legalized weed. So before they were just catching tourists for weed, and they required you to pay some $400 fine. Oh, sorry, no, it's Thai baht. 10,000 Thai baht is, sorry, some $200, and you had to pay it. Otherwise, they would keep your phone, or they could imprison you. So, you know, like, they can. So, yeah. Of course, the more bureaucracy, the more corruption. So this is really good. Like, I find Georgia on normal things. At least, like, I have never encountered corruption. Another great example is in the Czech Republic. If you want to build a house, or if you want to make some reconstruction. But like, if you want to build a house, you need to go through all the bureaucracy, which will take you around 10 years. No joking. Like, no, it's a problem, because then, of course, you have housing problem, which is being, you know, the camp.
After 10 years, you don't need this house.
Yeah, of course. Like, you want to live tomorrow, you don't want to live in 10 years. But after 10 years, you just start building. You know, you first need to go through the bureaucracy. And of course, the funny thing is, damn, I forgot what I want to say. Yeah, like, it's super ridiculous, especially if you build in some older parts of Prague, let's say. So then, if you know, like, if you are building in some old house, so you may actually, they stop your your reconstruction. You have to wait for 2 years so that they would check that all is compliant and all is well, and there's nothing very old to be secured, and then you can continue, but you keep paying rent. Or if you just have a reconstruction, let's say, like my friend encountered this in Bar, but of course there's corruption, so you can pay yourself out just to improve fasten the process. But oh yeah, this is a funny thing. So of course we have this 10 years, like, it really takes 10 years to go through all the processes just to start building. So, of course, what people are saying, oh, those Airbnbs. No, Airbnbs didn't create housing problem. The housing problem is that there's so much bureaucracy just to start building, to actually build something. It's expensive. Again, like, you still didn't sell a flat but you have to pay lawyers, thousands of lawyers, just to go through this bureaucracy. So it's crazy. Corruption in Asia, yeah, that's what I meant. Latin America, I was just reading this beautiful experience of my friend who traveled more than 100 countries, and his friend traveled the whole Latin America. They have never like robbed him in any of the countries he spent there several months, but he was once only he was robbed. It was in Mexico,
Yeah.
and it was by police ban. Yeah, and again, bureaucracy means monopoly, as I was mentioning. So the problem is that the government literally gives you the allowance to do something, and they have the only monopoly for it. You don't have any competitive company or anyone who would be competitive, except when we think about nations, again, like if they were competitive on the market. Thank you. GDPR.
You have never been in China.
I haven't. No.
The corruption is there.
Yeah. I think that the whole Asia is like that. So this is the funny thing. I thought that Asia be, just very strict compliance stuff, but actually, in fact, the reality is that the rules exist, but no one cares. So it's like really a parallel society. It's like a theater. Like everyone pretends that we're all compliant, all is fine, but actually in reality, no one is really compliant. And yeah, you can pay yourself out. But
For me, Soviet corruption, after China corruption, it was small childhood playing.
wow, yeah, well, that's sad. I wrote this GDPR example, yeah, like as I was already mentioning. So just to summarize it, so first it was supposed to secure people personal data to keep only essential information, while governments who are gathering these personal information, they require it from you. Their data are being leaked. No one is paying fines, but again, it would be funny because you pay the government to leak your data, and then they would be paying the fine to European Union, which you are actually paying from your taxes. European Union, you are paying the government, and you are paying the government to pay the fine to European Union. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And so, okay, so we have these essential information, and as I mentioned, so of course some businesses have been already created just to help to meet these conditions. So people are making work that brings zero value and have to store data, like so much unessential bullshit. And it's very difficult to enter the market because you want to start and you have to be compliant. The security of data and this new bureaucracy, it really surprised me. That's why I spent so much time on this chat regulation law, so that they tell that we have to be compliant to avoid this fraud. So we have to collect these data, essential data. So this just really adds on the circle. It's I think this is very dangerous. It's like really, it's crazy. It's like 1984. It's like very, very frightening to me. Yeah. Next one, please. The allowance to do something, and this enslavement, like what I was already just mentioning. You pay someone to allow you to do something. You pay the government to allow you to start creating video content in Slovakia. You pay the government to allow you to open the business. But you don't pay them, when you are opening the business. No, you pay them in advance. The government hires a person who thinks up this law and enforce it. And so you actually pay someone to cut off your freedoms.
They call this licensing.
Oh, yeah. License. Yeah. And I have a very frightening example. I was on Friday, I love theater. I was at the Liberland Theater. And there was a play, very, very sad one. It was about Algiers, which was a camp in Kazakhstan for wives and children of betrayers of the homeland during the Soviet regime. It was crazy. I was crying for 2 hours. And I was just thinking about it. Exactly, again, you pay someone to enslave you, to force you to go to the prison. The way they were treating them is terrible. And they tell you that you're a betrayer of the country, and you have to sign it, and otherwise they anyway imprisoned them. So it didn't really make sense, but it's crazy. This is crazy. Like literally, when you rethink the whole concept, you pay someone to cut your freedoms off. Yeah. Next one. Great. So what we can do? So first we can vote. This is the democratic approach, and it's this beautiful fantasy. So that okay, I will go to the elections and I will change the word. Yeah, well, it's not really working, but it gives us sort of, imagination, so that we actually have a choice, right? It's a choice, and I have a good there's a good example on this. My friend, like this choice, my friend just started a new job, and she doesn't like it because she cannot work from home at all. But she said, but I have a freedom to choose whether I want to work from 9 to 6 or 10 to 7. It's like,
very big choice.
Yeah, exactly. But this is the same thing, Like now we had just the presidential elections, and we had 2 rounds. So we are directly voting for the president in the Czech Republic, and in the second round, there were 2 like local post KGB agents. One AOB, Yeah, so 9 to 6 or 10 to 7. Yeah, next one, please. Alright, so vote, protest. Yeah, like you can go to the protest. It's like, it really shows that you're not happy with what's going on. And I love this, like revolutionary stuff. I was going to some protests. I was going to Gilles d'Est in France when I was over there, because the atmosphere was actually very powerful. Like French people are going to the streets very often, like maybe far too often. And but it's like nice. It's romantic, I think. Whether it changed something? Yeah, that's the thing. In 2020. If you remember, I was like pretty closely observing what was going in Belarus, because in Belarus, literally hundreds of thousands of people went to the streets, which was crazy. It was against the regime. Well, I was like, back then I thought this will change. Tikhanovskaya will become the president, everything's gonna be beautiful and so on, and Lukashenko will be done. Yeah, it's 2023. There are thousands of people sitting in the prison. There are thousands of people who migrated, and those who didn't make it, because I think they even actually oppressed people from leaving the country. So, if you didn't make it, good luck. Now they are maybe in Ukraine, yeah, to help their brothers.
People are here.
Yeah, I know.
And after that, our government decided to invite startups from there, and 6 months they have free taxes.
Oh, nice. Well, that's good. But again, like, if you made it to leave, again, like I know I met several people from Belarus here, but yeah, like this is really crazy. And even I was just looking at some story a year ago. So like in Russia, they were going to massive protests actually, because despite it's like really prohibited there, and it's really like the Soviet like approach is really bad. I don't know how much what's happening in Russia, but I find just this one single thing, this one single word, very like it says everything. So they have a special word for a car for political prisoners. If they catch you on the streets, they have this. There are several cars. It's автозак, авто для заключенных. And they just catch you and they put you in the car, and they have a word for this car. This just it's
Which one?
автозак.
Автозак, yeah.
Yeah, and just
Yeah.
автозак, авто для заключенных.
Yes.
And just this single thing, it says a lot about. Yeah. So of course, like if you were protesting now, or if you were mentioning something on social media, it's
It's old time. It sounds like old Soviet times.
It's possible, but it's still, it's in place. Just that's a sad fact. and of course, like if you were
because Tem Zek is from the Soviet time. He is not a political prisoner, but like criminal.
yeah,
Criminal
Zaključen.
prisoner.
Yeah.
And then maybe use that car to transport the criminal prisoners.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
I've been to this car.
Oh my god. My man. Yeah, like, of course, like during those latest protests, as long as I was actually observing it, so like during the beginning of the war, so people who went actually protesting were just sent directly to Ukraine. They were protesting against the war, and if they were caught, they were sent to fight Ukraine, which is really.
We know about this life because we are from last century from Soviet Union.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, well, it's crazy. So yeah, like what you can do again, like you can protest, like, but this is actually a good question. Do we still have power against the government? If we go to the streets, can we really change something? Like, I was discussing this with my friend. She's South American, and she showed me a video. She's like, look, this used to be a shopping mall. And this is a shopping mall after our protest. So what happens there? They just go and they burn everything around. It's like the government is like, okay, they are compliant to people, but is government still compliant to people today in Europe? I mean, here, but like everywhere. It's really a question. Like, do we still have? We're paying someone to meet our needs. Do we still have power over them?
Because in Europe now about maybe 50% not European. It's arrived from different countries and they are foreigners.
That's not a question in the end. Like it's very difficult still to get a citizenship. But still, if you want to change something in the country.
No, I don't mean citizenship. I mean they are arrived to, for example, Czech Republic or Germany or other countries, Italy. They are not Italian or German. They are arrived from Soviet Union, from Asia, from Latin America, from Africa. Arrived, they receive citizenship, and they can't understand their citizenship responsibilities. They have no, and they think it's temporary.
But it's not related to what or I don't understand the point or why you're mentioning this.
I think when in Europe, as I see now, it's not European.
I cannot say I haven't seen the data for this. Like I would love to see the data to be more, but like in the Czech Republic, for example, you don't have such a high immigration, and then of course you have the question like my best friends are Vietnamese by ethnic, but they were already born in the Czech Republic, so are they Czech or not?
But after USSR, a lot of people go to Europe and from Asia, and now they live last 10, 15, maybe 20 years. And when we look in Europe now, it's difficult to understand who is all European people
Honestly, this is not a problem in the Czech Republic. Yeah, okay, but it's not this is not a problem. Like, let's say you still have in the Czech Republic, for example, in Prague, you have most of the immigrants or people who at least expats, who are people who stay temporarily, and but like in the rest of the country, you don't have them. So you may have like 10 millions of Czech people, really Czech people. Then you have actually Slovakians who moved there. There are many Slovakians, so you can say they're also foreigners. And then you have other people, especially Vietnamese, maybe some now of course Ukrainians and so on. But what do you mean like by obligations by citizenship? Because like I think that most people are not aware of their obligations actually, even though they are they're nations. So like to go voting again, like point A, we're discussing it. Or if you're a citizen already, like you became the citizen in Slovakia, in case they would have war, so this like mandatory military service is connected to your residency, not to the passport. That's interesting, actually. So even if you're a temporary resident, so you may actually have to fight for like, yeah, which is crazy. But yeah, like again, I was not talking about this. Like do we still have power against? If I want to, not considering the immigrants, that's not the case. It's not a problem. I don't care about it. But I mean, just check people. If they really went to the streets, can they really make a change? Because like compared to this, my South African friend, she's laughing at those European protests because she's saying, you're just going to the street and, you know, ringing with keys. And you're like, we're making a revolution. Mostly when the change was, it was just because, you know, the whole system was just falling apart everywhere. So this was just like consequence of it. But it's not really like protest. So rather, again, like, do you still have power? If you really want to make a change, do you still have power against your government or not? This is not related to immigrants. It's not related to that.
Okay.
Yeah. So another thing you can do is to go to politics and try to make a change from the inside. That's again. I think this is very romantic. It's beautiful. You know, like I will be the revolutionary guy. Well, I know that like there are some people I know who wanted to do this. The problem is that in politics you have many games and many people in like higher, same as like at higher. Corporate positions, they're psychopaths, so like emotionless, and if you're like really the good guy, good life, it will be a hard time for you. But let's say it exists. I think that in Georgia you have many like opposition parties who are doing interesting things, and I'm happy about, so that there's something happening. It's really good. But then again, like you know, there's probability that you will really make the impact. It's not like 100%, and you will never have 100% of seats, and it's very frustrating. It takes years to get trust, and you will be fighting populists, and you don't want to be populist, but you will have to be, because if you really go to how propaganda works to make actually some impact, yeah, it's difficult. Next one. Yeah. This is more likely my approach, and it's like just, you know, honestly leave where you are treated better. Like there's a very low chance that you can, as the individual, even if you organize protests and so on, so that you will really make have the impact, that you will make a change. And it means that you actually, you know, you waste your time, your resources, your value, everything you have for just making the social change, to understand that most of the country is not really willing to fight for privacy, freedom, and so on, and they're just conformists. So just, you know, leave where you are treated better as long as you can, and before you pay out the exit tax. This is yeah, just next one. And another option, which is actually I think most people do not think about, is and this is why I'm here, is just question the status quo. Does it really have to be like this? Can we do it differently? And if so, can we lead by example? Next one. And so, this is Vityadechka. He is a Czech citizen, as I am, which is not related actually. We didn't know it, and I was really fascinated when I found out first. So he used to be in the Czech politics because he had this romantic, you know, idea that he will make the change from the inside. He went to the Czech politics and he was like, okay, I will try to make the change from the inside. After 10 years, he was like, you know, there won't be really that many people in one country that will be willing to fight for the freedom. And but he noticed one thing when he was traveling. In every country, you have a certain percentage of libertarians. And so maybe we could found our own country and interconnect all these libertarians from all around the world into one place, into one community, and just try to do things differently if that's possible. And so in 2015, he founded Liberland. And so you may think, can you really just out of the blue create your own country? You have to meet, because you're still in the, if you want to make it, you know, like let's say illegally or just be compliant, So you have to meet certain conditions that are being concerned to be, so that you would be approved to be like, you know, a country or considered as a country on the international level, so that you would be recognized by other countries if they are compliant or if they are willing to do so. So you need to have a permanent population. You need to have some territory, which he found in between, as Pato was mentioning already at the beginning. So he found a dispute, no man's land between Serbia and Croatia. Actually, like none of the countries are like, Croatia says that it's a Serbian land, and Serbia, just after announcing Liberland Foundation, said it's not our land, we don't want this thing. What happened is, like, you know, after Yugoslavia fell apart, and this Liberland land is lying between the two countries on Danube River, so you have some kind of like half islands and all these things over there, so no one really cared about it. And he found this land, but it doesn't belong to anyone according to the maps and according to all those agreements. And so he announced that this will be a Liberland.
Is there any bridge from border or somewhere?
You need to get there on the boat. Oh, you mean like borders?
No, I mean some bridge water.
Yeah. Now, by water. We don't really have the infrastructure over there because we're still like having some accessibility problems. But we have our own like diaspora village. It's called. It's on the Serbian territory. We call it ARC. We organize our festival there. We organize our anniversary celebrations there, some cultural events, and it's our land in Serbia, which is around 10 kilometers from Liberland itself. And we have our territory there. We have our citizens who live there, and they're just staying there. If you were around, so you can totally like come there. They have some cuisine and stuff, like they're organizing several events over there, and it's really nice to, we'll be happy to see you. We have the August festival, it takes place in summer, and we also have part of it as the conference. I was given a speech over there about remote work, and yeah, like literally it's really fascinating because thousands of people from all around the world actually really travel to this village in the middle of nowhere, you know, like it's really on the borders of Serbia and Croatia. It's a bit difficult to get in, but it's really it's like, it was very empowering for me to meet with other people who live by the same idea, who like this, you know, non-conformist perspective. So I totally recommend it, and at every meetup I already mentioned it, but people are like, oh, can we make some group trip to Liberland?
They will stay there. Is there some houses or something?
Oh yes, there are houses, or we were staying, there's very close to that is in Serbia there's a village called Apatin, and they are very kind people, and so I was just renting a flat there. It was very nice, or room, like it was very, very good, and people are just so kind, like very, very nice, yeah. Okay, so permanent population, we have our own passports. We have around 700 citizens and about 7,000 residents, as you are or I am, and also Reze from Franklin Cafes. We have a government, so we have a president, we have 4 ministers, and just to really keep it low, and we have the capacity to enter the relations with other states, which is what I am. So I'm actually, you know, acting as a Liberland representative to Georgia. So I do try to create international relations, or I am here to enable them. Yeah, so we made sure that we meet all these conditions. So this is how you can, like, literally, you can create your own country. It's not that simple, but then, like, it should have some kind of idea, or you don't have to. But I think the more important is, because there are other concepts like this. You have, like, free cities, you even have foundations, like, privately owned and founded cities that are, like, a huge community, and it's all around the world. Like, you have similar concepts abroad as well, and we're happy about this, because every such project, what it does, again, it questions the status quo. It questions the legitimacy of the country, of the government. So, next one. Yeah, the concept of Liberland. So we have this is really related more to this citizenship thing, so that we are really having this voluntary principle. That means that if you want to, you can join the country. Are you a libertarian to whom the country meets the values? Okay, you can join us. You can start paying voluntary taxes if you want to. If you pay voluntary taxes, then you will get merits, Liberland merits in return. You can vote with them. If you do not participate at all, well, then you don't get merits, because next slide, please. Next one. Oh no. Okay. Okay, whatever. One more. Good. Okay. So why should someone who doesn't really participate at all in the country should actually, be deciding on how the country will be directed? And I like this approach. Like, we can of course discuss it, but you can also get the merits not only for paying taxes, because then you would say this is unfair. Like someone will have a lot of money. But even if you want to suffer, let's say, from your voluntary approach, if you know, let's say, programming, so you can participate. We have the software foundation, which has been announced just lately. I was surprised by it. They are doing interesting things on like innovation levels, and this has been done by volunteers from all around the world. They're cooperating remotely, and they're starting some new projects on the software level. They're questioning, even now they're working on, or one of the projects they would love to work on, from what I've read, they want to create a new email protocol, because the current one is like very old. And so, just coming up with these ideas. And what I love about Liberland actually is that it questions not only the status quo of these things, but all those people have this wider perspective, this wider understanding. They're libertarians, and it means a huge potential. It means a lot of potential innovations that normally you wouldn't come up with, because you have so many regulations and so many constraints that keep you locked in this. Okay. And my surprise is I would like to have a live call with my colleague, Meetup. He's our Minister of Justice, and I would love him to actually, because the idea was like how to creating the country in the 21st century. So we have one of the thing that I think is like really different and new. Despite I've heard that Georgia may actually having a similar approach in the future, which would be very cool, is a decentralized governmental approach. So I would love to have a call with him so that he would cover this topic. I'm speaking. I'm sorry. I hope that you will. Ahoj, já se tě omlouvám, já jsem hrozně
Nejsem ready.
Ne,
Hodinu později.
já vím, já jsem povídala, ok.
Nebo tak můžu to rychle nějak udělat, ale...
Prosím, klidně fakt jenom na 10 minut, úplně super. Děkuju, ok.
Já můžu nějak tady přioblíct,
Děkuju. Jsi skvělý. He's complaining that he's not ready anymore. He was ready 1 hour ago. And it's like, oh. He's getting ready, and he will give us the presentation shortly. I'm so sorry, Michael. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. You're not trying. Oh no, he'll get ready and he will just turn on the camera. Because one of the things we're currently working on, and we will launch by our anniversary in April, is our blockchain. Oh my god, he's so fast! Wow! Thank you so much for joining us. Let me increase. Cool. We can hear you and see you.
I'm glad to meet you. I'm Michael from Liberland. I'm working on the practical application of the decentralized state in Liberland.
Just a second,
Yes, nice.
I will show you
Nice to see
people.
Nice to see you. Nice to meet you. We're trying to create something new here, a state which is built using modern technologies, or which the government of which is built using modern technologies. I mean, the state, the infrastructure will also be very technophilic, no question about it. But we're currently focusing on the government, on the governance. And if you're familiar with the concept of DAOs, decentralized anonymous organizations, we're trying to build something like that. We're trying to put the state into the hands of the.
Would you give us the more context about it? I think that not everyone might be familiar. Thank you.
So, after the advent of the blockchain technology, which is a technology of distributed ledgers, where you basically have it's like a notebook, but it's online, and everybody, or like lots of people who are totally unrelated with each other, have a copy, and they can check with each other if the copy is okay. So that's distributed ledger, and you can use this for all kinds of nice things. Basically, for anything that a notebook can be used, and notebooks can be used for almost anything in human organization. Like, we used to work with papers in governments, not before long. And so people have found out that, well, if you can found a company using papers, like acts of incorporation and so on, you can do that using this distributed ledger. And they created a whole new space, or spaces, because they are separate spaces at this moment, like this, where you can create an entity which doesn't have anything in common with any country. Actually, it doesn't even record your name, but it's an organization, and it works in a manner that is encoded in the ledger, in that decentralized notebook on the blockchain, in other words. Well, we want to put it one step further and to create a country which works using the same principles. So that we can benefit from the security, and this is a very secure system. The privacy, we want to be pseudonymous towards the rest of the world. We value your data if you choose to go with us on this journey of building this freest country in the world. And we want to be flexible. We want a virtual democracy where people don't have to go to a booth, where there is no voting for representatives once per 5 years, but you can directly decide on what you want. And if there is representation, there is also the ability to remove that representation if that representation does not fulfill your expectations. And that makes it truly representative, because currently, as you know, you just vote once per 4 years, and then there's no removal, there's no checking. If the politicians betray you, well, you can choose later, and you're one of like millions. You have basically no power in democracy. So in Liberland, we're trying to build something different, and we're trying to build it, of course, based on and first and foremost, not just secondarily, but first and foremost, this is the basis on the protection of property rights, sovereignty of property. Like, wherever you live, the government can take away your money, your home, your land, if you don't pay fees. So you're not really an owner. You're more like a government tenant. That's not going to be in Liberland the case. If you're the owner, you're the owner. There will be cases of tenancy, but then it will be called tenancy, and you will be paying rent, and you will have to agree beforehand in order to do so. Whereas nobody ever made you sign a form that you agree with taxes. You were just born into them. So this is a general vision, and the more specific vision is that we have taken a system which works, adopted it to become the Liberland blockchain, which is the system on which the government will actually operate. We are currently setting it up as we speak. The last steps are being taken. The so-called mainnet is being set up. And we are going to phase it out to the few citizens, the volunteers who want to join us. And we're going to have advisory democracy first, so everything will be advisory, because we want, for binding democracy, you need representation. For that you need enough citizens. Yes. I don't know what you're interested in. I don't know how in-depth knowledgeable you are about blockchain, so I think I can answer certain things, but quite the specificity. So the floor is yours.
Yes, fine.
Yes, please, Alex. Yeah, I will turn it to Alex.
Hello, Alex.
My name is Alex. I'm a specialist of blockchain and cryptocurrency in Georgia. And I will be glad to help you on this interest. And if you need my knowledge, I will be glad to help in any projects or in tasks. So where we could see the roadmap of this project, is it possible to reach on there?
We are going to publish it. However, we first want to publish the project and then the roadmap.
Okay.
We don't want to hype it up. We will first publish the public testnet or alpha mainnet, however you wish to call it. It's actually the same thing in many ways because we still have the pseudo. So it's not like truly decentralized yet. It's still in a trial regime until there is enough citizens to be able to vote on it, because you can't have a DAO that's representative
On
without
which
enough
blockchain
citizens.
it will be?
Polkadot.
Sorry?
Polkadot. On which blockchain it will be?
On our own. It's a level 1.
Ah.
Level 1 blockchain. It's based on
yeah.
Polkadot, but it's not a parachain.
I know.
It's its own thing, own blockchain.
I understand. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So, next question, please.
Do you have anything related to like whatever Liberland? Like Michael is the person who was adjusting the constitution and working a lot on constitution. He's a lawyer by profession, so he's much more into this and also into the blockchain perspective of Liberland. He's like,
Yeah, where is it?
Yeah, by the way, the constitution and the laws, the draft laws rather, are on GitHub. Just Google GitHub Liberland or Liberland GitHub, and you'll see it there. We're drafting laws first in text. Now it's all in text. It's not in machine readable form yet. We're drafting them on GitHub using the tools of GitHub, like pull requests and merging branches and so on. So you can contribute. It's open. You don't even need to ask for permission to see it. And you can make a branch for yourself, and you can, if you know something about lawmaking, or if you just have a good idea and you think, yeah, this is not libertarian enough, that's a typical remark, because of course we have to try to compromise between being an acceptable country and being very libertarian, right? So that is a balancing act, and it always needs more adjusting and more heads to contribute, or fingers. So please join us if you can.
Yes, of course. Was glad.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
the same can be said about like the blockchain project. Come to us, come to me. Samuela is going to give you my phone number for Signal or my Telegram for Telegram. Signal's better, please. And then we can discuss contribution. People who contribute get merits, which is the political currency of Liberland, and they can vote, can become citizens, and they can also withdraw the merits later when we have events. Sooner rather, it's going to be this year. Like it's on the roadmap, which will be published.
Cool. Very good.
It's somewhere around June on the roadmap, just to tell you, like the exchangeability of Liberland currency for Bitcoin or something.
I thought it
Maybe.
it was supposed to be done by April, by the anniversary.
Oh yeah, like the blockchain should be launched by April, but that doesn't mean that the tokens will be immediately exchangeable on decentralized exchanges. Or let me put it this way: they could be if a third party would do that, because decentralized exchanges operate on their own. It's like the DAOs, as I explained. It's its own thing. It has its own life, its own organism. So if a third party would enter a blockchain and connect it to another blockchain where there is a decentralized exchange, or would set up a decentralized exchange on our blockchain, then it will be sooner. But our efforts, we have other milestones and other priorities, just like registries, just like citizenship, just like the executive, or judiciary for that matter, which are higher for us as a country in our sponsoring of this project than the DEX. Our project is not about number go up and moon. I don't know if you know those terms. It's like investor terms or speculator terms, and stable for generations. So for us, a few months isn't that much of a difference for that. But it should be this year. It should be, I guess, first half of this year. It can be earlier if somebody else helps us. Otherwise, we're going to explore it around June, implement it over the summer.
Very good. I will be glad to help.
And this is just like transferability, yeah? This is translatability of the value from our chain to Bitcoin and vice versa. So the chain will be long before, just like Samuela said, in April it should be operational. So I just wanted to prevent any misunderstandings. The launch date is April. But the launch date is not the same as the launch of the first decentralized exchange. Oh, and we don't like centralized exchanges that much. And those who know what FTX means probably understand.
Yeah, we were just. I think that our audience is not today that much blockchain based, but I was mentioning it partly. So that's like when you have to actually, when you want to get some different currency, like blockchain currency, and you have to publish your passport to submit your passport to get it. So then it's actually controlled, and then you do not really own it. Yeah. All right. Do you have any other questions for Michael?
Today, no.
All right. Michael, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm sorry for calling you that late. I will be now just sharing a few slides, and I'm finishing as well in 5 minutes. Thank you so much. Take care.
Have a good meeting. Bye.
Thank you. Take care.
Goodbye.
Thank you. All right. So thank you so much for asking Michael for a few questions. And yeah, as we were discussing, so what we are working on. So we keep like making more beautiful our diaspora village arc, which, as I've mentioned, it's in Serbia, close to Liberland. So you can come for various events. We are working on the recognition of the passport, because this is the aim. We have to. How can we do it? Through through our diplomatic relations. So it's just really more of diplomacy work. But for example, Georgia is just to this recognition. You may be laughing, just imaginary country. Every country is imaginary, actually. But my friend, he has a wife who's they live in Taiwan. She's Taiwanese, but she cannot come to Georgia because Georgia doesn't approve a Taiwanese passport. For example.
By the way, I was 3 times in Taiwan.
Yeah.
With my passport.
Yeah. Well.
I know the way. If she or he asked me, maybe I would help him.
Oh. Okay. I will text him because he liked
Very
Georgia.
beautiful country.
He was. It's on my list too. He was in Georgia last year. He really liked it, but he said to me, I was like, hey, just come, and he's like, my wife cannot. But this is frustrating. So of course, our long-term goal is to get the more recognition, the better. We just opened our representative office in Mexico. Oh, we have a grand opening tomorrow, so that's really cool. We're working on our blockchain infrastructure, and we would love to attract more residents and citizens. How can people join? If you would love to take part, because the thing what I really love about Liberland is that it interconnects people from all around the world, like literally hundreds of thousands of people who showed their interest once Liberland was already founded back in 2015. And so you have Facebook group work that you can join and just check the updates, and there are many volunteers related to Liberland or who just like the idea, the initiative, or who would love to do things in the name of Liberland. This includes some sports activities, but of course some IT projects, anything, literally, you can just join. But the good thing, I love traveling, for example. So last year I was presenting in our diaspora village in Ark, in Liberland. I was giving a speech over there. And now when I was in Thailand, I made 2 meetups of libertarians in Thailand, and I was giving a presentation there about Liberland. And this is really funny because even my friend, he was telling me that he made this presentation somewhere in Peru, hiking in the mountains. He met some random people who were like, oh yeah, we know Liberland. And so they organized a meetup and so on. So it really interconnects like-minded people from all around the world. And when it comes to, like-minded people, you may think, what is that one core, or what is important when you want to get to know some other people who would meet you, your thinking. And I understand that it actually, this value of freedom, it says a lot about people. I met very smart people around the globe from really dozens of countries who are related to Liberland, who make interesting projects, who have interesting companies, who are questioning the status quo. This interconnects the people, and I'm really happy that we meet here as well. So, you're also curious. That says a lot about people, just because they question the thing. They're non-conformism. What you can do, you can of course visit Liberland. As I was mentioning, we have these events. We will be happy to meet you. There are people, as I mentioned, who live in Ark, so they will be happy to welcome you over there. There you can rent out a house there and come visit with the family, spend a week there, and just enjoy nature. It's really beautiful. You can rent a boat and do stuff there. You can start a company and market your services on our market. You can contact the representative, which is me. I also have my Facebook group on Facebook. But if you're in some other country, so we have representatives in around 100 countries around the world. So if you're traveling, you can just join a local meetup. You can join local people. You can help with what you can do. Either contact the representative or my colleagues at Info. You can come to the festivals or you can donate.
Is there internet there?
Hmm?
Is there internet?
Yeah, I was working there. Like it's Serbia. It's like, yeah, sure. I don't have a problem. And just like, to me this is a voluntary activity because I really believe in the idea. I like it. I love that what it communicates. So what does it mean to me, and why do I value it that much? First, it interconnects an amazing Liberland community. As I was already mentioning, I met very interesting people in Thailand now, and same when I was visiting Liberland. I love this value of freedom. Again, it really interconnects very interesting people, and it's an example to the world that things can be done differently, which was the whole idea of my today's presentation. And yeah, so what I do here, I have a Facebook group. You can join. I try to make some updates over there. I also send, if you just register on liberland.org, you should get a newsletter. I send like once 2 or 3 months, and I just provide there some updates. I provide my favorite libertarian reads sometimes, so I share, because I love reading, so I sometimes read some interesting books. I sent the link to it and so on. And I also started running a podcast called Liberland in Georgia. We are shooting it thanks to the cooperation with Franklin Club, just next door. And I'm just working on the 2nd season that I will dedicate to the business perspective of Georgia. And I will have some, because my aim, I really love the country, and I will have to show what's going on from the business perspective here in Georgia. It's valuable, it's like favorable taxation for the companies, because honestly, the more I travel and I talk to people and they're like, oh, you live in Georgia, and they're very curious, and I make people move here. Literally, like, so I share these conditions, but I want to scale it. I want the world to know about it. So I run this podcast. So far I had 4 episodes out. 2 were just monologues. If you just search for Liberland in Georgia, you will find it. 2 were monologues like about Liberland, and 2 are very interesting interviews with my Slovakian friends. One was this guy, Pavel Luptak. He's a perpetual traveler, ethical hacker, and he traveled more than 100 countries in the world. He's searching for those, legislation loopholes, and he's, I think, one of the people who had the biggest impact on me. And the other interview is with Mariana Sadecka. We were talking together about parallel philosophy and some interesting projects that are like questioning, again, the legitimacy of the government. They are doing some different things, like we have like parallel police cafe in Czech Republic, in Slovakia, and you can. It's like crypto only. They do not submit this electronic evidence and so on. So it's like very like revolutionary, but often like even we were discussing like revolution via art and some other concepts. So it was very interesting. And with Pavel, we were talking about Georgia in the international perspective because he travels a lot. He loves Georgia as a country. So we were talking how it works, you know,
When
here.
he will come here?
Huh?
When he will come here?
He maybe in summer, but like now he is in Peru. And then he will probably go to Thailand, so we will meet most likely there. It's funny because we're in touch online for the past year and a half, and we met twice in Georgia and once in Thailand. And I think the second time we will now meet in town. But he loves Georgia, so he will definitely be back. But I think like maybe in summer it's better, just or autumn. He made his company party here. It was in October, so he came here. Yeah, and so in this regard, we made this interview. It's very interesting to listen to him. Like he's questioning the status quo a lot. He's like one of my like very inspirational people. Yeah. Next time, I think that's it. Yeah. So if it would love to stay in touch, so you can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. I write a blog where I just write my like philosophical thoughts and stuff, and some libertarian things, psychological things, what I think about. You can write me an email if you prefer it more formal, or I can give you my number, that's fine too. I was giving the interview also to my colleague from Liberland, or colleague Adam. So over there I was talking about Georgia and about my representation here. You can find my podcast. And yeah, I organize also these bi-monthly meetups. So every second month I try to gather people like this. This has been our 3rd edition today. And I prepare a different presentation every time. So I think that I will have to implement some more introductory presentation that go deeper into Liberland and some additional stuff. I'm sharing the video from my visits to Liberland, how we were escaping Croatian police and so on. So I will add this as well, but next time I'll be happy to see you again. Feel free to come next time, and thank you so much. That's it for today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, blah, blah, blah.